Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. You can find more episodes on any podcasting platform such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to follow Spoiler Force Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch.
This is Stephanie Nadolny, and you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast.
This is a FlowGasm Beats production.
All right, so this is episode 94 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. This week's guest is someone that I was not expecting to get, but I did anyway. But I am so happy because she is one of the very few voices that are distinctive to me growing up. You may know her from the hit anime series Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball GT. She's voiced Kid and Teen Gohan, Kid Goku. So let me introduce my guest here, Stephanie Nadolny. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Thanks
It
for,
is
thanks for your interest. This is awesome.
it is an absolute honor to have you on this podcast because a lot of people my age who grew up with Dragon Ball, especially watching the English dub on TV and on Toonami and stuff like that. Gohan is someone that I relate to immensely,
Yeah.
just based on being a kid and just facing whatever obstacles you have, and then seeing him grow up right before your eyes as a kid to a teenager to a high schooler to an adult, and now in the series he's a married man with a kid. So that's like kind of like where I'm supposed to be around that type of stage of my life right there. And your voice distinctively, again, like I've said in the intro, you, Veronica Taylor, Rob Paulson, voices that I can recognize on the spot. And you playing Gohan, especially, again, absolute honor to finally talk to someone who was the voice I've heard growing up.
I love that. That's great. There's probably nuances of my voice that maybe the timbre, whatever the timbre that maybe stands out as something that's unique about my voice. I mean, I'm speaking right now, but I definitely, when I laugh and stuff, I can definitely hear that my voice has kind of changed over time. My throat and then the sounds that I can produce are a little bit different, but I can, I guess sometimes I laugh like Kid Goku or Kid Gohan or not really just like them, but like enough to where people are like, oh, wow, you kind of sound like those characters when you laugh or when you talk.
And I wanted to bring up the fact that, like, when I messaged you, again, like we said before we started recording, I was surprised that you responded to me because when you sent me the thumbs up, I'm like, oh my god, did she just respond to me by mistake? Or that's why I had to like confirm with you, like,
Are you
make
sure?
Yeah, like
Really, you? Come on.
yeah, I didn't make sure
No.
because, like, sometimes you read messages on like Facebook or on Instagram, and you just kind of sometimes you hit a response, and so I had to clarify with that.
Yeah.
And the inner child in me was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
Gohan responded to me. So
Right.
this is so
That's
cool.
great.
And I want to just kind of take it back a little bit, Stephanie, kind of just for fans and listeners who may not know your story or may not even know who you are, which is sad because a lot of people my age grew up with Dragon Ball Z, so they have to know your voice. Kind of walk briefly, just kind of like go through how you got into voice acting and the role of Gohan.
Oh, okay. I'll try not to just talk and talk and talk forever. I get on tangents and get distracted, but basically, as a kid, back as long as I can remember, I've always been fascinated with the voice, the sounds that it produces. Mainly got into singing and music. That's what kind of started and propelled the whole voice deal in general. Was very I don't know if it was just my ear, like I had a natural ear for sounds, voices, songs, singing. And I was playing around with my voice and doing funny voices and character voices when I was a very young child. And my father had a really cool old, well, it's old now, but it was like a cabinet stereo with like 8-track tapes and, audio. We had little microphones and I was just obsessed with that. Like, and he would tape us talking, me and my brother, and singing songs. And We listened back to it, and I think they're long gone now. I sure would love to have those now after all these years. But I've always had an affinity for voices, sound effects. I'd watch TV, I'd listen to the radio, TV shows, and just be fascinated with it. And then when cassette tapes came out, I would have my little tape recorder, and I just was obsessed with it. I had to have it all the time. And then we had the Sony Walkmans come out with the headphones, and we'd go on road trips, and I'd always have my music and my things to listen to. That was what I enjoyed. And so then as I got a little older, I did it for fun. I would, prank call my friends, or I'd make up, I had a show, shows that I would make up with like some of my friends. One in particular, Jody, she and I would do these radio shows, and we would make up the whole thing, the intro, plunk around on my keyboard and play around. I took piano. So and we tried to make these shows, and and we would be the characters. We would be we would interview and make up a character, make up a story. And then it was so much fun. It was hilarious. And mimicking voices has always been a fascination of mine. And to this day, I find myself trying to mimic what I hear, whether it be, South Park, Beavis and Butthead, or, just quirky, funny stuff. And I have an affinity for comedy. So I got into writing parodies and jingles, and I did one called Broccoli Spears, and some of the morning show radio companies were kind of interested in those types of ideas. And so I'd submit for those. And I joined a show band right out of high school, and got right into music. And I was going to go to college and do all these other things, and musical theater, and maybe move to New York and do Broadway. I had all these aspirations, but I ended up joining a show band. And then as I got to know people in the industry in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Denton, Texas, a lot of music comes out of there, a really big music school. I met Brave Combo and some of those members through performing with Vince Vance and the Valiants, which is a rock and roll show band with 3 girl singers, and big internationally touring band. And man, I learned a lot about the industry. And as I, flourished in that realm, I actually met Barry Watson, who was the director way back in the day, like that would have been around 98. And he was at one of my sessions because he was working at Funimation, and we started talking, and he asked if I'd ever done any voice work. And I said, well, I do it for fun, and he gave me his card, and I gave him his, and gave him mine. And then when audition time came around, I was contacted and went into audition thinking I would be auditioning for female roles, and really didn't know anything about Japanese anime. It didn't even come up as far as what it was even for. And so when I went into audition, I was ready to audition for Bulma and Peachy and, these female characters. And it turned out they wanted to hear how it would sound as a little boy. And so I gave them what I thought would sound good. And they said, yeah, give us a little more rasp. And they liked it. So they cast me as Gohan. And this was like around the Ginyu Saga. And that's where my voice acting career began. I had done a little bit of work voicing characters for Chuck E. Cheese, but the singing voice. And so what was cool is eventually after I got cast as Gohan, I was able to not only voice character voices, but also sing in character voices, namely children's voices and babies crying, women screaming. I eventually got the role of Baby Trunks in East Kai. East Kai, oh my, so crazy. And yeah, so that's where it all happened. And now it's just been fun getting back in the Comic Cons and getting face to face with the fans and doing some traveling. And yeah, it's my favorite part of the job is meeting the fans and hearing their stories about, which characters they identify with, and, how, they, it got Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, or maybe a specific character got, that they latched onto, got them through some hard times, or it was like their escape, like before school or after school. It's like, hey, gotta go home and watch Dragon Ball Z, and so it's just been a crazy whirlwind. I had no idea it was going to ever become this popular at all. I definitely had fun with it.
I think that's great how the roles that you thought you would be auditioning for is something that you didn't get, and it turns out like the voice, like the role for Gohan is one of the major roles in Dragon Ball Z. So I think that was that's pretty neat to know that something that you didn't really go for is what flourished your voice acting career. And I wanted to bring this up to you. You brought up music and impersonations and stuff like that. There's
Mhm.
a comedian that I follow, Ari Spears, and on his podcast, he talks about how he was like he grew up with music too, and I
Mhm.
always find that like a lot of musicians tend to pick up certain sounds or nuances differently than like just people who are not saying that it's bad, but like they tend to pick up sounds better than most people.
Mhm.
And myself, like I grew up, in a church, and I played in a church band, and I
Yeah.
learned rhythm and learning how to pick up beats. And I kind of noticed that commonality between like a lot of people who are performers too. Like
Right.
that's such a unique trait to be able to hear something and then kind of replicate it and then get it down. And so I
Mhm.
think that's really cool how you're able to do that, and just by listening and by
Mhm.
impersonating. um and
Right.
that is really cool that you're able to do that. And I want to kind of just transition this to how you do like the voices for like the babies. Like I had no idea you did Baby Trunks' voice, and I've been watching Dragon Ball all
Yeah.
these years. And
Okay.
that's so unique that you can kind of still make those sounds, and still make it sound really as if nothing's changed. Like it's still there. Like it still sounds
Yeah.
exactly the same how you did it.
Oh, right, yeah, and I just kinda know where to go. I think part of that too, like I said, was, for me personally, it was, my ear, like, I could hear. I don't know, I was blessed with a great ear to be able to really capture the nuances of these different sounds, whether it be music, and having a great memory. I was able to memorize lyrics, and, like, I would listen to records just all the time, like, listen to Donna Summer and disco and ABBA and '70s music, and, you know, mom and dad, none of my relatives were musicians themselves or were in show business at all. I was just this crazy, uh, freak of nature in my family. Like, I mean, I'm still to this day, like, really kind of the only one that has this kind of whirlwind, non-traditional, non-conventional life, and career. And I mean, before I really even understood it, and knew the vocabulary to describe it, I knew from a very young age that I would definitely be pursuing music, singing, voicing, utilizing my voice, it's just my innate passion. And I was blessed to know that early on, and I embraced it. And like, I was going to do that, whether it was a hobby or a living, like that was something I was definitely going to do. And that's something that I intend to do for forever, as long as I have the ability and the life to do so. And so, and now that I'm getting older, I mean, I'm really embracing the ideas of like being a mentor and like helping other, especially children. I have a very huge heart for children. I don't have any of my own, and so I embrace my fans and their kids. Now that a lot of the fans that I'm meeting now in 2021 are in their 20s and 30s, and some even in their 40s, and they're having kids and sharing Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z with their kids. And so I'm getting to hang out with their kids and hold the babies, and I'm teaching some music, and some voice lessons now, and even some beginner piano, which I thought I would never do. So that's given me that opportunity to really try to be like a shining light, and like encourage these young kids, really of all ages, to pursue their dream and explore what their voice sounds like and what they want to do with it. And if they want to be in a band or they want to travel, or there's a new school that's looking into using me to teach voice to kids that want to be professional singers. They want to be performers, which sounds like a good fit for me, being that I did that for 25, 30 years now, traveling with the show bands and costume changes. I was very involved in drama and theater and dancing, pom pom, drill team. I was in, anything from talent shows to, I mean, anything and everything that had to do with performance. And I did the thing like we talked about, singing in church and growing up and learning the harmonies and the structures of the hymns and how those parts work together with piano and instruments. And even now I'm exploring going back into piano lessons myself and learning even more than what I did before. Because I always thought it'd be so cool to be able to play piano and do gigs, just grab your keyboard and go to work and do like singles. That's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility if I keep practicing, right? So I'm
That's
ready to.
amazing though.
I've just got a really. I'm dabbling in a lot of different stuff. I'm with the pandemic not being able to book my band and perform, and be around people as much, which was horrible for someone like me who loves people and loves to get out and about. I mean, I was pulling my hair out literally. But anything that involves the voice, if I can have everything all wrapped into one, it'd be kind of what I'm doing now. I've got the voice acting. I do anything from radios and commercials, singing, booking my band Moonglass, and getting around kids and trying to inspire and be a bright light in the world and help others who are struggling with similar things, whether it be bullying. I know I suffered a lot of that, moving around small town to small town every couple of years growing up, and having a broken family, and dealing with a lot of my mom died young and at a very crucial time in my life suddenly. And so I just want to be a support and an encouragement to those struggling with similar things, So that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm dabbling in a little bit of everything.
That is truly amazing to see that you're still giving back to the community like that. And I know that recently there was a convention that you went to, right? And that's pretty cool that to see that you can still meet your fans. And like I've said, like us, the generation that grew up with Dragon Ball, like we, a lot of the adults my age have kids, or they're introducing not like the newer Dragon Ball stuff, but like the older Dragon Ball Z stuff. They're introducing that with your voice in it, and kids are growing up with that.
Man, OG.
Yeah. I kind of just want to ask you as well, like through the things that you've been through in life, did that kind of help you, I guess, relate more to the character for Gohan as well, since he was a teenager and he grew up struggling as well?
Oh yeah, completely. Even now, like when I go back and think about it, and I or watched episodes, I'm like, I can relate to it, and from a completely different perspective, being older now. And what's cool about it for me personally is, I mean, all of us we were all children at one time. We all had a childhood. We all had whatever it was that we absorbed as a kid. We were sponges, and whatever went on around us, you take it in and you learn. And we all have a completely different perspective of what being a child is and what it's like. And for me, and for a lot of people, it's like, that innocence that when you're a kid and you're just a bundle of light, and you just want love and acceptance and joy and happiness. And that's what I think is a common thing with children, young children. And so it was really fun for me to channel that as an adult, and then also get to channel what I could come up with was a boy, a little boy, and Gohan was fun and a little bit challenging at first, and especially when we got into Super Saiyan Gohan with the Cell Saga, that was completely different. But I could definitely relate to the struggles that were going on in the show, and when the directors would kind of set up the situation or the scene or whatever was going on, and I was definitely able to utilize what I had been through as far as struggles, and having, like with Gohan in particular, having that loyal nature to his friends and being protective of his friends, and knowing what it's like to be kicked around and watching people you love and watching who you care about getting picked on and sometimes killed. It's like, and that loss and that grief and struggle with him and losing his father, and trying to survive and be strong and mighty and have a purpose, and so I can definitely relate to that. And then when I was cast as Goku, Kid Goku for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball GT, that was even another interesting facet, because Kid Goku had a different background. He grew up in the woods. There was an innocence there. There was a comedic sense of timing, and coming up with this clean slate of not knowing a difference between a girl and a boy, and the script, and being able to really embrace the slapstick and live vicariously through this cute little kid that just goes out, and he's hungry, he goes and gets food. If he has to go to the restroom, he drops his pants and pees. I mean, it's like, it's what he did. And I really enjoyed the comedic part of being that voice and living vicariously through a little kid like Goku. And I think that's what made him so lovable. And my love of children made it even more rewarding to be cast as a kid and be able to channel that and just really have fun with the character. And then, like I said, back when I was voicing in 99 and 2000s, I in and out of video games and just different things that were coming my way. And it was like, it was a long time ago. And there was kind of like this fast forward, rewind technique. I mean, now with computers, things are a little different. And, but there were opportunities for some of us actors, a small group of actors, to play multiple characters. And that's when what was cool is, like, if we were already there, we would knock out our work. And then if there was time to explore another character like East Kai, that would come up. Or I think I was cast as a German English teacher once. Please open your textbooks to the page 24. And then Baby Trunks, it was like, and then being background characters and villagers, I was able to channel some of these voices I had in my arsenal. And I've got a whole bunch more. And so that was fun to kind of be in the same show, but in different scenes with kind of like with yourself, like I know I was a villager woman and she was just this old lady, and I channeled my aunt from up in Rhode Island, and she kind of had a voice like this, kind of like, oh yeah, and I was able to utilize and have these references in my brain and put some of these characters to life that they weren't even that big of characters, but it was really fun to like play around with those different voices that you could come up with. And I liked that the company was focusing on really making the voices unique and authentic and completely different. Whereas I know Goku and Gohan sound a lot alike. They were both little boys and they're both related. So I think that was okay. But like doing this, oh my, it's kind of like, oh, it's crazy, but it was really fun to be able to be cast in these different voices that were completely different. Like you said, a lot of people, a lot of the fans of the show didn't even realize that I voiced some of those different characters and that I sang some of the animation themes. Like Sayonara Bye Bye from Yu Yu Hakusho, the opening and closing theme for Kitty Grade. They were translated from the Japanese into English, and I was able to have a hand in putting those and constructing those into songs and making the lyrics make sense and rhyme. And I was able to do some of that, a little bit of producing as well. But I was able to sing and utilize my voice that way as well with some of the anime. And that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that.
Were there any inspirations for the voices of Gohan and Goku since they were so similar? Was there any, or did you just kind of, I guess not so much wing it, but kind of just like, it just came out organically?
Once I worked with the character of Gohan only to start, and once that voice became mastered, and we were knocking these episodes out, and the company was growing and taking on more properties. It was kind of more like character development in the sense that, like, hey, we'd like for you to voice Kid Goku, and here's a little synopsis of what he's about and where he comes from, and and so when it came time to dive into a new character, we took kind of my already little kid voice and just raised the pitch. And then that's where the acting came in with, like, okay, you kind of know his backstory. Okay. He was raised in the woods. He's super innocent, super cute, happy, innocent, and fun. And so then I just kind of tried to channel that through whatever acting experience I had, not just through life experience, but through like actual drama and acting and plays and musicals and being around kids and being around my cousins and not really nieces and nephews at the time. I guess my nieces were born by then, but yeah. And so I just decided to just kind of follow the director's lead, which is, obviously the most important. And then it's a matter of just fine tuning the details of the voice. And then, so with Goku, it was kind of like, yeah, kind of high and happy go lucky and cheerful. And, he could sound, similar to Gohan, and the directors were okay with that, but it was all through the acting. So I think that's where more of the acting came in to play, my acting experience and theatrical background.
Was it more challenging? I guess, like, between the characteristics of Gohan and Goku, was it challenging changing from like Gohan's kind of more laid back and more mellow until he snaps, and then Goku again, like you said, he's very carefree. So was it challenging switching to like different character traits like that?
It was a little, and thankfully, I don't want to say I'm necessarily a perfectionist, but I definitely want to make sure and don't feel comfortable if I'm not doing something right, or I don't completely understand something. And if I don't feel like I'm going to fit that role. That's definitely the case. But fortunately, I was definitely open for the opportunity and very grateful for to be cast as Kid Goku, and that ended up being um yeah, it was challenging in the sense that I really wanted to make sure that not only the voice was unique to Kid Goku, but that the delivery of the lines and encompassing the emotion and character development had to be good stuff. Like I wanted to produce a good interpretation of what that character would sound like. And thankfully, you know, the directors at the time were pretty good at explaining what they wanted. And then once the voice was established, we were good to go. And so early on, it was helpful to have like our mic, we'd have our headphones and the microphone, and then like we would have like a voice reference from the last time we were in to record, which sometimes could be the next day, the next week, sometimes months would go by before we would be needed. Because with Japanese anime and with the company I was with at the time, we recorded separately. We recorded and went from line to line rather than having like a table and all this, you know, all these microphones and everybody record line after line. When I did OKKO at Cartoon Network, we did it differently. We actually were all in the same room and recording with each other, which was kind of interesting. That wasn't necessarily anime, but yeah, it was a little challenging, but I just followed direction, and I was just as particular with wanting the voice to sound unique as the directors were. And so I think that worked out to everyone's advantage.
So,
Yeah.
you know, with how much Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z has changed throughout the years, what are your thoughts on? I don't, I'm not too sure, but have you been keeping up with the show at all, or once you got done with that, then that was it?
I've been not really, not lately. I've been focusing, like I said, more on the teaching and
Okay.
the Comic Cons and the comic book store appearances. Trying to get my band back going, book my band, get back, reach out to some contacts that kind of fell by the wayside there for a while. But I do hear some feedback from fans that are watching other animes or Kai and Super, and they just kind of fill me in with what's going on with that, with a lot of that. But right now, I'm doing what, you know, I've just been talking about, but also like I'm open for getting back into it and tackling another project with some kind of fun character voice that, you know, is new and unique, and take on a new project. I mean, I definitely have met some people that are, you know, working on their own shows that they have me in mind to maybe possibly audition for. So, I'm working steadily again now, but I'm always open and flexible to try something new. Able to do that by being self-employed and freelance, you know. So I'm just kind of juggling a little bit of everything, and just taking time to explore the new opportunity with piano and music and get back into start booking my gigs again. Yeah, and I just actually reunited with my show band that I was in all through my 20s and 30s, Vince Vance and the Valiants, and it's his 50th year. This is actually the Vince Vance and the Valiants' 50th year, and the only original member is Vince Vance himself. And there's information on the internet about that. I know we do. Well, next month we have our big 50th reunion, so we're hoping that a lot of people from the Dallas-Fort Worth area or the New Orleans area where the band started can come together and celebrate that reunion. So that'll be a lot of fun. It's kind of a big year.
That's
A
really
lot of
cool.
stuff.
Yeah, I knew you did music before, but I wasn't. I guess I didn't really look into it as deeply because I had no idea like you were that involved in music. I know, like you said before, like
Mhm.
you grew up with it, but I had no idea you were that involved with like you did
Yeah.
tours and all that stuff too, right?
Yeah, we were roughing it, man. Well, we had a tour bus there right when I joined the band. I had just gotten out of high school and I had started college, and then got the audition. I'd actually was in my own first band, first kind of college band with some guys that were a little bit older. And I'm trying to remember how we all met, but that's where I kind of met some of the Grammy Award winning polka band members, Brave Combo in Denton, because I was going to school at University of North Texas. And so I had my own band going called Backroads Romance, and we were on our way to start booking. And that was technically my first professional band. And I got the audition with Vince Vance and the Valiants, and then another local band. And then I was gone. Like I was on tour, like within a couple of weeks. I was working on a musical called Bye Bye Birdie with community theater. And then boom, I was on the road, and I had never been on the road. And I had been kind of in this bubble of like a very strict stepfather and, I had a heavy religious background, and which is great. I loved that I had that because it was really good to kind of build your morals and values and um, the golden rule and the 10 commandments. I mean, that's just great rules to live by, regardless of what you believe in religion wise. But yeah, so I broke out of not only the bubble of this kind of protective, strict environment growing up and moving around a lot and just small towns. And then all of a sudden I'm in a bigger town close to Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm off on my own, living in the dorm, rocking it in college, hanging out with all the musicians, kicking back, learning what life is like to kind of be an adult. And it was crazy. And then all of a sudden I'm on a tour bus, traveling, and I'm in Mississippi, I'm in Alabama, I'm all over New Orleans, I'm in Wisconsin, South Dakota. I mean, like, we're traveling, like, and sometimes we'd be, but this is back when the band Vince Vance was like in its heyday. I mean, like the late 80s, well, early 90s, all through the 90s. I mean, we were touring, like we were working. Sometimes we were gone 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. So all of a sudden I had this family, and you like each other or you don't, you're stuck with each other. And there were 3 girl singers. I was one of 3. And I got up on that stage as quickly as possible, because that's when my boss was like, this is when you start getting paid. You're going to make the big bucks and start, performing. And with my background, thankfully, singing, dancing, acting, pom-pom, drill team, anything from musicals to, like I said, it was great. I picked up on it quickly. And then as a result, I was able to kind of, as band members came and went, I was able to start learning how to do the costuming. And then I kind of became what they call the senior valiant. And then I started teaching younger girls and recruiting. And to this day, I'm always shooting, Vince Vance, hey, you need a girl. I've got, I'm scoping them out for you, and kind of became like the big sister. And that was really fulfilling for me. But early on, man, I was the new girl. So I got, picked on again, like you do when you move to a new town. You're either embraced or you're picked on. And it's like, well, I had the chops to do that. I fortunately was very resilient. So even coming off the road and being kind of like beat down a little bit, I was ready to get right back on and get back on that stage. I was just absolutely in love with it.
Now, with all the singing that you've done, I'm pretty sure that's helped you with the screaming and fighting aspect of voice acting,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, and being a kid, screaming and crying and stuff, all that stuff got me in trouble, but it was all training for me. I didn't realize it at the time, and I was having some fun with that. I mean, like, not getting in trouble, but like having to go to my room while I would cry, when I was a little kid, just like Goku and Gohan cries, and it's like, I remember being punished and learning to vocalize through the crying and the screaming even. And the next thing you know, I'd be like distracted, and I'd be like, or crying or whatever. I'd be like, next thing you know, I'm literally sitting right by the door. Like, you're supposed to go to your room. So I'm like right by the door. So I'm still in my room, but I'm like almost out of the room, and I'm crying because I'm like not happy because I'm stuck in my room. But then you give me a little time, and I would start vocalizing, and I would just be like, I'd learn like what a yodel was, and like how to go from like your chest voice to your head voice, like, oh, there's your little break. And I remember one time my mom came around the corner. I don't even know how old I was, maybe 6 or 7 or 8. And she'd be like, you're having too much fun in there. You're in trouble. What are you doing? And I'd just be singing, and I don't know. I really grasped the whole concept of what my voice was and the sounds it could produce at an extremely young age. And, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, for me, I guess as I've gotten older, I've heard that that's really kind of a unique thing. And then for a little girl to be carrying around a cassette player like all the time, like I was obsessed with it. I was recording everything and listening back and mimicking. And I'd get up and watch my cartoons and mimic the voices. And I was fascinated with it. And so little did I know that I had this career in voiceover that I didn't even know existed. So I'm not ready to hang it up. So.
Was there any challenge then when it came to like doing the whole, because with anime especially, there's always like the aggressive, like the grunting, the shouting, and shouting the attacks and all that. Was that, I guess, challenging for you as well, like being able to produce all that not noise, but to be able to produce the volume,
the reactions and stuff. Yeah, no, that came easy for me. I don't know why. I think like I said, I had such a close relationship with my own voice. Like I had a confidence about it that I didn't really even realize at the time. And growing up, and I remember when I was first cast as Gohan, he didn't have a whole lot of lines necessarily. I mean, he had a few here and there, but like around the Ginyu Saga, he was kind of in the background a lot. He was hanging out with Krillin and watching a lot of stuff, and like in the background, like and there were a lot of reactions, a lot of shock and awe and landing exertion, flying exertions. And then whenever he would fight, for whatever reason, that came easy for me. Like, and for me to come up with something different every time, because there was a ton of reactions. Like, I was actually called and dubbed, coincidentally dubbed, the reactress. They called me the reactress because those came so easy for me, more so even than the lines, because it was just like, whoa, yeah, whoa. I mean, it became fun for me to really come up with something unique every time I would be given almost the same direction. And then what was cool about the way we recorded is we'd set up the scene and then we'd just go for it. We would have the 3 imaginary beeps and then you would produce your sound on the 4th beep. And I remember watching and dubbing and matching the flaps, and by being able to watch the actual visual of the characters that you're voicing was easy. It made it easier for me to come up with what would be appropriate for that. So like if I didn't catch it the first time around, they would keep it rolling and we would record 2 or 3 more and then they could slide it into place. So it was a benefit for me personally to actually be able to watch the scenes and watch my character to determine if it was high stakes, low stakes, middle stakes, like what was going on. And it would almost be immediate that if I didn't get it the first time, after seeing it, I could knock it out the second time without even having to start over.
That is
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of anime, even like till now, like all these years later, anime still has like that same type, especially with the shonen genre, like just the
Uh-huh.
characters, producing power or some sort of energy, releasing something. It
Uh-huh.
does take a strain on the voice actors, And was that something? I guess were you ever afraid of like just damaging your vocal cords at all when it came to like certain scenes like that?
Um, I guess not going into it. No, I mean, like I said, at the time when I was recording a lot of this, I was traveling in a show band, and towards the end of my work with Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, I was with a local band, and so I was closer to home, and I was in and out of the studio as needed based on line count and episodes and deadlines and things like that. And so I do remember specifically the Cell Saga when Gohan transforms and trains and then his voice changes. Not quite a teen yet, but at that point, this was a transformation for Gohan as a character, and for me as an actor and as a voice actor, this was definitely my most challenging, being the sense that I'm not just producing a little boy now. He's not young. It's not just a gruff little raspy kid voice. He's about to be a man. Like and so what I came up with through the direction and what we came up with was basically the strongest, most powerful, confident, manly, tough voice I could come up with as Stephanie Nadolny. And fortunately, I was able to come up with one that worked and that everyone was happy with. So the most trying times for me was when I was voicing in the Cell Saga, where that saga Gohan was kind of the focus there, because he was he's the character that's like, hey, he's fighting evil, he's the good guy trying to be his strongest and to really channel being powerful. Like, and with him holding back all those years and then finally coming out, it was like, wow, it was so cool. And so doing that when the line count was heavy, and then all day long, maybe 2, 3, 4 days a week, and then going to my gigs on the weekend and singing with a big giant show band or traveling or going, playing a wedding or a party. That was when I was really trying my voice the hardest. And what was even harder was when I was doing that and performing on the weekends, and then sometimes getting sick, like sinus infection. I had really bad allergies. So I had sinus infections, bronchitis or whatever, and I'd lose my voice. But thankfully, because I had really toughened those by singing all the time and traveling in the show band before, I really had the chops. I didn't even realize at the time I did. So when I'd go in and do this crazy stuff, this fight is meaningless, forever and ever, all day long. And then screaming, I literally had to. I mean, fortunately, we were able to save a lot of the really, really crazy yelling for the end of the session, whether it was a 2, 3, 4 hour session or an all day session. We would usually have a lunch break so I could take a break, take a chill pill, drink some water. And then usually, if I was just really good at taking care of my voice, I wasn't drinking alcohol, I wasn't a partier. Um, and I really looked out and protected. I wasn't a smoker. I mean, I sounded like one maybe. and and actually it's funny because it correlated with some of the material I was singing. I was singing some Aretha Franklin and some like really rough kind of R&B blues stuff. So like it was cool to like be able to channel that through my singing and then be able to, be all this tough man, what I was trying to accomplish in the studio as Gohan. And so I used it to my advantage. I learned by using my voice so much, not just through talking and communicating, but through the singing on the weekends or throughout the week, and then voicing the character of Super Saiyan Gohan, Teen Gohan, whatever. I guess he wasn't really a teen, but he sure did look like it. He looked like a man to me. I mean, holy crap. But it all worked out. And then, I mean, I just remember a few times when it was really, really hard, having a really bad headache. But I'd get in my car and I was always having to drive kind of a long way to get there. And that was my time to just chill, relax, not talk, not call anybody, just relax. And then I would be like a new person sometimes as early as the next morning.
Want a simpler way to record both video and audio podcasts? Then sign up with StreamYard. StreamYard is the perfect program to create podcasts, host live streams, and even do video calls. There are many tools to help you create and design your own personal studio. You can screen share, read live comments, and stream to multiple destinations such as Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also download your video and audio recordings after each session. Follow the link in the description, and once you sign up with the basic or pro plan, you'll earn a $10 credit to use for StreamYard. Do you want to start your own podcast? Then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users to begin their podcasting journey. With easy-to-use tools, you can effectively get your podcast onto many platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout also offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and also support Spoiler Force Podcast. Happy podcasting. If you're into anime, manga, or anything that's from Japan, Otaku Detroit is the place for you. Located at 513 West, 11 Mile Road in Madison Heights, Michigan, you can find a variety of manga books, anime figures, collectibles, posters, snacks, and even authentic items from Japan. Stop on by to see store owner Matt and let him know Spoiler Force sent you. With the transformation of Gohan in the Cell Saga, that was definitely something that stands out for a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans. And hearing you say that was probably your most challenging times, I was, that's really not shocking, but I'm caught off guard by that because, Gohan being the main focus in that, he definitely, it was definitely geared towards him being the next protagonist after Goku dies. But what were your thoughts on his character change like that, from being the kid in the back and be kind of like being on the sideline to being up in the front? What was your thoughts on his character change?
I just embraced it. I'm thankfully with my background of being a chameleon. I mean, I'm a chameleon now. You can kind of put me anywhere which way, and I'm just going to kind of adapt. And at the time growing up, that was hard. But now it's great. I mean, you can plop me anywhere. You can take, I can be at an airport in Chicago and make friends, or I could, you can throw me in the back of a tour bus, or I could be in this band or a tribute band. I could be singing backups with an Elvis tribute band. And I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of learned to become one of the guys. And when I say one of the guys, I don't necessarily mean like one of the guys as a male versus a female, but like I learned to like just fit in with anything and everything. And so when those scenes came up, I was like ready to go. I was like, okay, what's next? For me, it was like a clean slate. What am I going to do today? Show up to work and here's your script, put the headphones on. Let's do this. What's coming up? What's next? And so I learned to become a very just roll with the flow, easy going. I was ready for whatever was going to come at me. Being kind of a resilient spirit after having been, I say I suffered. I don't want to say like that. I don't want to be like this self-pity I'm such a victim. I was just terrorized as a child. Like, I don't want to put it out like that because I'm definitely an optimistic, happy, fun, loving person and very grateful and humble. Really laid back. I'm really not, I mean, I'm not really an intense person. Like I'm spiritual and I'm intense in the sense that I'm very passionate about what I do and very compassionate. Like I'm an empath. Like, I mean, I just feel like every time I go into a room, I can like, I'm absorbing all of these auras from all these personalities. And, it can be, gosh, it can be a curse, you know, and then having a good memory can be amazing. And I love it because I can remember my mom and being a kid and my mom and dad when they were together and it's great. But so I think that having been through what I've been through as a person, made all this stuff easy. You know, I just walk in, I'm like, hey, I got a job. I'm working. I'm getting to use my voice and then I'm going to get a paycheck. Well, crap. You know, this is fantastic. How can I complain? Right. So, yeah. And then, so yeah, I mean, I was just, I don't want to say like, oh, it's another day at work, you know, back to the grind, because it wasn't that. It was very exciting. And producing and being a part of something. Like I know that for me personally too, like, and when I'd get in the studio to like sing or sing original music or help write a song or construct lyrics, like there's something about being in the moment and living in the moment now and like really embracing what's going on. Like, yeah, you're working towards a finished product and you want it to be amazing, but you're going through the process of it. You know, like us having this interview, like we're constructing something and then we hope that it's going to be this amazing masterpiece. So there's something about being a part of something like that and then it being such a big deal and becoming such a huge, I don't want, you know, anime. I mean, it's not a cult necessarily, but it's just
It's a big part of our
Dragon
culture
Ball
now.
Z.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like when I was recording early on, and I had no idea really. I just didn't know much about Japanese anime in general, but I had this tour. My mom had just passed away. I'm trying to get over that. It's horrible. Got to get back up on the horse. Got to get, I'm not going to cry in bed all day and be depressed. Mom wouldn't want that. So I remember getting back up on the horse and traveling with my show band. And we went to Europe and I was in Italy on this naval base tour. And I was just walking around. Right. And I'm at this store and there's Dragon Ball Z stuff like in this store in Italy, Naples, Italy. And I'm like, wow. And then I'm in my hotel room. This is the year 2000 and I'm watching TV and Dragon Ball Z comes on in Italian. Like I was like blown away. I was like, what? This is crazy. So I'm hearing the Gohan or whatever, or the Goku and all the characters talking in Italian. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like that's Gohan. I did that voice in English, you know? And then going to my first Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con was 2000. And I went with Sean Schimmel, Christopher Sabat, and Sonny Strait. And we sat there and I remember we had just been doing the voices and me being a female and voicing little boy male characters. A lot of the fans at the time were pretty young and they were mostly little kids, you know, mostly guys, boys. And I remember doing the voice all day. Like they didn't believe me. They were like, no, your Gohan's not a girl. Wait a minute. And so I had to prove it. So I remember that specific convention, which was a crazy huge one. In fact, Lou Ferrigno was there, the Incredible Hulk. And I just met him like 2 days ago when I was in Bell County Comic-Con in Belton. I had dinner with Lou Ferrigno. I'm like, do you remember San Diego Comic-Con 2000? You're like, not expecting him to remember me, but I certainly remembered him. Like, I was pretty starstruck walking around. That was a big one. I mean, there was like Star Trek people, Carrie Fisher, Peter Mayhew. I met him in Australia, New Zealand, and I was just, wow, I think that's when I was kind of like, this is kind of a big deal. Like, wow.
Well,
So,
I mean, especially now,
like
with
I
the
haven't
time.
voiced for that in so long, and now I'm doing conventions, and it's like I'm the OG, the old school, you know. And my niece is 21, almost 22. Now she loves anime, and her boyfriend loves anime, and they're into anime. And they're like, Stephanie, I found this pop, and it was at the Pop Toy, and you signed it. And it's like $100. Well, like I'm like, really? Like I didn't even know. And my friend Dan, who I take with me on the tours with me, we were in bands together since '03. He's like back in the day. He was like, I took him to one of my sessions back when I was doing the voice of Gohan back in around I think '03 or '04, and he was like, "Do you realize you have an IMDb page and a Wikipedia page?" I didn't even know. Like he knew more about all that than I did, and so I think that's when I was kind of like, "Wow, this is pretty cool. Like this is a bigger deal than I ever thought it would become."
Yeah, with
It's a career,
everything
you know?
like like with everything being so mainstream now, especially with like social media and all that. Like even
Oh
with the
yeah.
Olympics this year, anime
Yeah.
is huge. And I kind of just want to touch upon conventions a little bit, because now, before, it wasn't really cool to go to that, and now everyone's going to that, and everyone loves conventions now, and anime is
Oh
making
yeah,
a
it's so fun.
huge dent in this scene. And again,
Yeah.
with Dragon Ball Z, with the Funko Pops and all the figures,
Mhm. Mhm.
everyone's wanting to get that stuff signed. And I have a few Gohan figures myself. Like, I have the one with Kid Gohan, with him with the little 4-star ball on his hat. I have that
Oh,
one.
that's adorable. I love
Yeah.
that one.
And
I
so
know I'm gonna start collecting those soon. I'm not right now because I'm wanting to make sure the fans can get a hold of them and get them signed or whatever they want. But that's one thing I've learned too. It is tying into this whole history of being a new girl and traveling around and having to like be plopped here and plopped there and ripped from here. And you think you're getting comfortable and think people finally start getting used to you, and then you're like, oh, time to move again. And I think that's another thing that I've embraced about not just anime, but like anime fans, um nerds, weebs, I don't even know, whatever you want to call them, because like, and I'm not saying it just happened to me, it's happened we all get picked on sometime, kids can be really mean, and it's like I've really embraced that. Like, I love my fans. Like, my fans, like, I feel like they're like a reflection of myself, like when I was younger, or when I was struggling, like a misfit. Like, I definitely feel like, hands down, I'm a misfit. I don't really feel like I fit in anywhere, any particular place. But when I'm at a convention and my fans are in front of me and we're talking about being bullied, and Gohan got me through some hard times. I mean, I was going to commit suicide, and oh my gosh, my parents were divorcing, my kid's sister died, or horrible things going on around shattering these people's lives. And to hear these stories, and for a while there, I lost my purpose. Like 2015 was like horrifying. I mean, so many horrible things we don't even need to go into, but it was really, really, really bad. Like, some things, most of it I couldn't control, and some things I could. I guess how I was choosing to suffer and get through the grief and loss, and trying to find like myself. I think I had to crash and burn and then reemerge like the rising of the phoenix, and that's when I really kind of realized, when I got back out in front of the fans and when I kind of lost my own purpose and had to find where I was headed, is embracing that character, like with Gohan and being a kid and growing up and having these we all go through suffering, pain, adversity, and we all have a journey, we all have a story. So it's like, now that's when I kind of realized, when I thought everything was gone, that I just had to embrace, realizing that the voices that I had already done, the work I'd already done, made someone happy or helped someone. Like, I mean, even somebody can embrace a villain. Like, there's people that like, oh, I really like Vegeta, or I really like Frieza, and I happen to know the voice of Frieza, and she's a sweetheart. So it's like, if it did something good for somebody, or you touched a life, or you saved a life through some work you did, then that's amazing. Like, there's your purpose. And for a long time I lost mine, and never thought that would happen in my 40s. It's like, what's going on here? Why am I so lost? But that's what it took for me. It took, what happened took me where I was so lost, and into a realm of like, oh, no, okay, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be getting in front of the fans. You're supposed to be teaching kids. You're supposed to be a bright light in a dark world, whatever it is. That's what it took. And now I'm happy. Now I'm like, I don't have to turn to, alcohol or escape or bad decisions or whatever it was. I don't have to do that anymore. And it feels good.
Yeah, I can definitely relate in some way to that too. Just going through like you said, the crash and burns. Like, it kind of just shows one how to like really appreciate what they enjoyed in life. And so, like,
Yeah.
what I've gone through earlier this year, it kind of just like the whole podcasting thing, and just speaking to
Yeah.
people, kind of like just maybe open my eyes more, and like really appreciate, like, man, this is what I want to pursue. This is what I want to do. And
Mhm.
I think talking with you really helps me to see, like, it's not so bad at the end.
Uh-huh.
Whether you go through a lot of things in life, or like
Yeah.
a lot of issues or trials, you
Yeah.
always come out at the end, as long as you just stay mentally and emotionally tough. And I'm pretty sure you
Right.
had really good support groups too that helped you through your times.
I for a while there, I didn't even know a lot of that existed. And when I did, I was like, wow, okay. And so now that I'm better, like mentally, physically, spiritually, like in so many ways, now I know that the people that were there when I thought there was nobody, there were. And I recognized that I was not, I felt alone, but I wasn't really alone. Like, and so the people that helped me then, I'm wanting to, through my recovery of all of this desolation and despair, it's like now I know that I'm good. I can help other people. And that's how I also found my purpose. It's like, well, this is now, yeah, that was rough. But now look, I mean, and then also taught me personally that being gracious and grateful for what you do have. And because I mean, seriously, and I know people have been through some horrifying things and it can always be worse. And so like I'm even just waking, like I used to wake up scared and anxious and with fear and like, and there were years I went through with horrible insomnia and I'm like, oh, I just want 1 hour of sleep. I mean, what is this deal? And I think what it also was, the root of it is finding not only your purpose, but peace in your life, like coming to a realization that, like you're okay and stable. You can do this. And then you're like I said, even something simple as having your hands, having your thumb. I damaged my thumb pretty severely not long ago. And I was like, I can't even button my shirt. Like just the simple things, getting up and being able to have your freedom, going and making a cup of coffee, getting in your car and driving the street, have money for gas, being able to replace your tires. I mean, simple, just everyday stuff, being able to sleep like a regular person, getting off all the meds, whatever. And it's just, I just have a newfound grateful, thankful, constantly mindfulness of like, wow, I mean, things are really, really going to be okay. It's like, you can do this. And like, I feel like also with the death of my mother suddenly, and when I was younger, and she was my age when she passed. And it's like, I've really honestly felt like I could kind of do anything after that. But I mean, and horrible things can still happen, but I have the perception now that I have, and most people have more strength than they realize. Cause I hear people like, oh, I don't know what I do without my mother. I was the same way. Well, then it happened. Well, now you're like, what would she want for you? She'd want you to be happy. She'd want you to go out there and be a good person and shine your light and give, like you said, give back. Because when you give, I know this sounds like Greek to some people, but like when you give good vibes or you smile at someone, now with a mask or without, you're putting something good out there. And I think that there's something to be said for like a give and a take and a cause and effect thing. So like it comes back to you. You feel the reward of having good integrity and being a good person and trying to encourage someone that wants to get into voice acting, or watching the light bulb come on when a little kid finally understands the key of C and pitch and harmony. It's like there's something very gratifying in knowing that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and things will have a way of working out when you do the next right thing. And that took me a while, but I get it now.
No, that's very encouraging, especially myself personally. I find that very encouraging what you just said. But
So,
Stephanie, it's almost an hour already, and I can't believe like we ran through this hour pretty quickly. So before I do wrap things
yeah.
up here, I wanted to give some fan questions for you, because this
Okay.
episode here was one that like I said, I wasn't expecting to get you so soon on the podcast.
Yeah.
And a
Love to
lot
do
of
it again.
yeah, definitely
Run through all the others and we'll start back over.
a lot of the people that follow the Spoiler First podcast pages were like, you really have Gohan on your page. It's like
Oh,
I this is the
cool.
most fan questions I've had, so I'm gonna try to
Oh my
get
gosh.
at
Let's
least
just rattle some through then.
yeah. I have quite a bit. So
Okay.
one from my cousin Meng. He says who what was your favorite Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z episode?
Oh, I liked personally, like I said, I love comedy. I really enjoyed voicing Goku. I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh, and I like to really do a good job on the delivery of lines. So I would have to say the Goku episodes where he was training with Master Roshi and Little Krillin. Laurie Steele's the voice of Little Krillin. carrying the milk up the steps, like training in all of these wacky ways, like what is this going to do? It was funny. And then him, eating all the food in the fridge and he's still hungry. And Roshi's coming in. He's like, even ate my last stick of butter. Coming in, Roshi coming out of the bathroom and Goku going, "You are stinky." Him asking him to go get a girl. He doesn't know what the difference of a pretty girl and an ugly girl to him. A girl is a girl, right? That was fun. I mean, it was lighthearted. It was carefree. It was a way for me to escape my own life and my own troubles. And then seeing the finished product, watching some of these scenes where Goku's seriously in like imminent danger and he's like about to die and he's like, "Well, can't catch me." And he just runs away and, the ninjas are throwing stuff at him and he's jumping in the water and, I don't know. It's hilarious. General Chow, is that his name? Those were some fun episodes. Yeah, all that stuff. It's just greatness.
Yeah, with the Dragon Ball episodes, as lighthearted as it was, there were like moments where it was like pretty dark at times.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's good because life is, you can't have life without death, death without life, good without bad. Like it's got to be there for you to recognize the difference. So you got to have your ups and downs. And I think that that's something that a lot of the fans embrace is the character development and the situations, especially with Dragon Ball Z, man, that stuff gets really, really intense. And like you said, dark, there's some darkness there, but life has dark. So I think the fans like that about the show. You don't want it to just be surface.
Oh yeah.
These are characters, they embrace these characters as real people. Right.
Yeah. I do especially. And
yeah.
For this next question here, then from Van Brooks, he asks, since Gohan had mentors like Piccolo and even Krillin, did you have any mentors in your life at all?
Oh, that's a good question. My mom, absolutely, hands down, my mother. She was amazing. She had kids young, split when we were kids. She worked 2-3 jobs to keep food on the table. She taught us morals. She wanted us to be good people, kind people, generous, loving, happy. She did what she had to do to make sure we were taken care of. I got, when she remarried, we were able to get me piano lessons and I was able to follow some of those dreams as a kid. And she's my hero. I mean, not just because she's my mom, because she was just a good, sincere, honest person. And she instilled in me things that that aren't taught through words, but through who she was, how she treated people made me who I am now. And anything good about me came from my mom. And not to diss my dad. My dad's an amazing guy and he's in Indiana and I love him dearly. But because of the circumstances, I was with my mother from 6 on, and my dad and we were always out of state. And but as far as like a mentor, she was there every day for me. She was my oasis when things were bad and wrong and horrible, and I was moving. She was always there to love me unconditionally, and I know that in my heart she still lives on. So she's definitely my biggest mentor.
And that is perfect. That's a perfect way to end this episode, Stephanie. I like I've said, we got through this hour pretty quickly. So if you ever want to come back,
can we go a little longer, please? Come on, I'm not done yet.
But if you ever want to come back on the podcast again, let me know, and I will definitely make time for you. I feel like we just scratched the surface.
I think so too. That's why I don't want to take other people's spots. But if you think in a month or 2 or next year, sometime you want to rock this out again, I'll probably have some other projects going on we could talk about. We could definitely make the next one about the listeners and the fans who have questions, specific questions. I'd love to do that.
For sure. I think maybe I might be I can say hopefully before the end of this year I'll reach out to you again. Yeah.
Holiday special with Gohan.
Oh man, that would be so perfect. That's actually a great title, by the way.
Oh, but, and I don't know if you do any shout outs for like social media, or do you?
Yes, this is actually your time right now to to share your social media links and stuff like that for fans who want to follow and keep up to date with you.
Okay, so StephanieNadolny.com is finally here. It got put on hold because some friends of mine that were going to do it had COVID, so we had to give that some time. So that's coming, StephanieNadolny.com. I do have Instagram, Stephanie Nadolny. I'm still learning the ins and outs of that, and TikTok is going to come soon. Because I want to do some crazy funny videos of just like my life and like my house, my dog, and I don't know if that'd be interesting or not. I know it's a lot of fun, so I want to do some of that. What else? Oh, Facebook, Stephanie Nadolny, voice actress, Stephanie Nadolny fan club. And I've got conventions coming up. I'm doing one this weekend right here around the corner, DFW Hyatt WeebCon, Wild WeebCon. I'll be there with some other voice actors, some director friends of mine I haven't seen in forever. What else is going on? It'll all be on the page. And then I have my email if you have questions or want to email me, stephaniefanmail@gmail.com. I answer all of them. My fans are my world. Seriously, you guys got me through some of my hardest times. And so for that, I'm there for you. So holler at me. And I'm hopefully going to do more interviews, podcasts, Comic-Cons, doing a lot of them in Texas until we see what COVID's going to do. And then we'll hopefully be out on the road again. Yeah.
That's perfect. And for the listeners and viewers, I'll have all that information in the show notes and descriptions on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you listen to the podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stephanie, again, I cannot thank you enough for
Thank
this.
you.
This has been great, and to not, to just hear your personal stories and the struggles that you've gone through. This
Right.
completely made me see, like, not, I guess, just you differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool that we kind of get to, viewers get to relate to your story and know that it's not, we're not alone. And I think that's really the point of this episode, is that
Right.
we do have each other.
To not give up and like reach out, because there is help. There's definitely support groups, there's mental health awareness groups, there's therapy, there's counselors, there's people that love you that you don't realize love you. Or if you're engaged in active addiction of whether it's drug, overspending, overeating, stealing, there's all kinds of things that people do to escape life that can be very destructive. And I mean, even something as little as obsessing over, like I said, coffee or drinking, whatever it is, if it takes you away from your best self, then there's help out there for you. And so don't give up. You're here for a reason. There's always a way out. And then you will have your story to share with the world, and it'll be amazing.
All right, so this is the perfect way to end the podcast. Again, Stephanie, thank you for being a guest, and
Thank you.
Yeah, and everyone have a great day and be safe.
Yes, you guys go out there and kick some booty. Kamehameha! Yeah!
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you have any guest recommendations, comments, questions, concerns, or criticism, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com or message me online on any of my social media platforms.